I'm restoring the driver's side headlight in my W126 280SE Euro model. It's a European headlight, of course. And this is the one I pulled out. Now, to me, that's not repairable. Anything's fixable, but these are still readily available, used for not an unreasonable price. So I've opted not to try to repair this. What happened is it got, a rock chip in the front. It's very typical, and then water got in there. And look at how bad it rusted the reflector. The reflector is actually rusted and peeling the chrome, so I don't even want to mess with it. The light wasn't working properly. By the way, this is just a warning. Anytime you get a rock chip in one of these glass-covered headlights, get some silicone and plug that right away, because once water gets in there, it's really hard to dry it out, and you're going to end up with something like this. So I'm not going to fix this, but I did have a spare in my used parts stock here with a very good lens. But I'm looking inside it here and thinking, I really hate to do this, but I really need to remove the glass and do a little detailing inside there, because it really doesn't look that great when you get up close to it. Let me show you. If you look closely, you can see some discoloration of the plastic trim piece inside here, and then look at the bottom of the reflector. I'm starting to pick up a little rust. Fortunately, it hasn't affected the main part of the reflector, but it's pretty typical that that flat bottom area can start to corrode and lose the chrome plating. So I'm going to pull the glass off. We're going to take a closer look at this and see what we can do to get it looking better than it is now. There are 7 to 8 clips that hold this glass piece onto this plastic headlight bucket. Now, I've already removed some of these and 2 were missing. So I think this glass has been replaced. There's really no chips in it. There's not even any, sand marks in it from driving. So I think it's a new lens, but somebody left a couple clips off, and that's probably why it got moisture down in here and caused this problem. Now, to remove these clips, you can just use a flat blade screwdriver, a narrow one, get on the back side like this, and pry up, and then the clip comes off like that. Okay, well, do this one to show you how that works. Just pry it up. You don't want to pry from the front side. You might chip the glass. Now, getting the glass off is sometimes quite challenging. I've already removed this glass, so it's not going to come off like it did when I did it earlier today. But it's usually stuck to the seal, and you've got to be really careful when you're prying on this. I recommend you always pry on this glass with a plastic tool and pry very gently. If you pry on the glass with a screwdriver, you're going to chip it, okay? So what I had to do is I had to get this in a position where I could kind of get one corner up, and it was this corner here that I worked this tool in. See that? I just worked this tool in, worked it along the edge, kept lifting, and once again, do not use any force. Just kind of slide the tool along and gradually hold up on it. You don't want to be prying on it or you can break the glass. And then I came up around this side. Then I was able to get under the seal here and then eventually work the glass off. And as I did that, I put my finger on the back side and slowly peeled it back. So that's the big challenge right there, getting the glass off without chipping this edge. Okay, now you can see what's going on here. We've got dirty reflectors. You have to be really careful cleaning those. You have to clean them with a very soft cloth. You don't want to rub hard, or you can scratch this plating. And here you can see right down there the plating has started to come off with a little bit of rusting going on. What I'm going to do here is get a really bright silver paint. I'm going to mask it off right there, and I'm just going to paint this bottom flat spot. But take a look at this plastic piece. At first I thought I was going to have to paint it because it's heavily faded. But look right here, I started to clean it. And this works really well on old faded plastic. I want to show you this trick now. What I use for this faded plastic is concentrated purple power. Now you're going to ask, well, Kent, how do you get concentrated purple power? What you have to do is get some purple power, pour it into a bucket like this, and I've let this sit 3 or 4 days, and a lot of the water in the chemical will evaporate off, so here I end up with a very thick, gooey substance. Now you have to be careful what you put this on because it can stain. It can stain aluminum and it can stain some types of plastic parts if you just splatter on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little sample area here. and I'm going to coat this. And I'll probably let it sit for, let's say, 20 minutes. I want to keep it off the reflector. I'm just going to put it right here on the plastic like this. I'll get it on that bottom edge. I just do a small section at a time. All right. I'm going to prop this up so it doesn't drain. I want it to drain away from the reflector, but I want it to stay on the plastic while I let it sit. And the chemical will actually start eating away that top layer of plastic. So you don't want to leave this overnight. If you try to clean it off too soon, it won't get that staining off. If you wait too long, you can actually damage the plastic. So you kind of have to stay with this when you're doing this technique. It's been about 15 minutes, so I thought I would come back and check this. What I do is I use a little acid brush just to move this around to see if I'm getting any effect on that. Yeah, it's starting to change the color. See that? If you look closely here, it's getting rid of that yellow tone in the gray plastic. So I'm going to rub this a little bit more right in this area. You don't want to use a real heavy brush. You don't want to use a Scotch-Brite pad. You're going to end up scratching this plastic. So I just use this little acid brush here to kind of work that purple power around on the plastic. And that allows me to see whether I'm actually getting down to the good color. Okay, I'm going to wipe this off. And let's see what it looks like. Wow, can you believe that? Okay. Over here you see the stained gray. Here you see the good gray. I may put one more coat on it to just see if I get a little bit more off this edge. But I'm going to go ahead and do this whole frame right now. And then later this afternoon I'll come back and show you the results. Look at how the gray plastic trim cleaned up. You know, it's not perfect. But I'll tell you, that looks way better than it did earlier today. Now, before I put the glass back on, I'm going to get my 303 protectant and put a nice coat of plastic protectant on that gray trim. But right now, this is probably one of the most critical parts of doing this job is cleaning these reflectors. Now, you can see there's a lot of spots on them. It's probably from moisture. A lot of people make the mistake of just getting some old shop rag and getting in there and start rubbing on those. They're very delicate. You can't rub a heavy rag on those or you'll scratch them. So what I use is, this is a DuPont cloth. It's a special cloth that's really used to clean plastic aircraft windshields. So what I'm going to do is go at this very gently. I'll get some glass cleaner and I'll spray the glass cleaner on the cloth. And I'm not going to rub, I'm going to probably dab, all right? I'll just come in here and dab a little bit, see that? I'm not pushing very hard on this rag. So this takes some patience to do this. Now I'll do it again. If you rub hard, you'll not only scratch this reflector, but you could remove some of the plating and dull it. And that's what you don't want to do. You'd rather leave a little dirt on it than to try to over clean it and remove the reflective ability of the light. Okay, that's cleaned that up quite a bit. I'll continue on here and do this whole thing, both the fog light and this main headlight reflector, and I'll come back and show you the final results and get ready to put the glass back on. Of course, I got to go clean the glass. Take a look at the glass. Not too bad, but you can see inside here it's dirty. The seal's dirty. So I'm going to pull this back and clean the grooves, clean the seal, clean the glass, let that dry, and then we'll put this thing back together. But there's one more thing I have to do. You're thinking, Kent, what about this? Well, I've got to go get my chrome reflector paint. Now, it's not true chrome paint, but you want something super bright. Silver wheel paint does not work as well as going to the auto parts store and getting some chrome bright paint. So I'm going to mask this off right in here, and I'm just going to spray this lower section right here before I put the glass back on. Well, take a look. I'm ready to put the glass back on. There's a couple things I want to comment about. I clean these reflectors very carefully with that special cloth and glass cleaner only. This one came out really nice, but this one, well, not so much. There's still a few water spots, and there's a little thin area right down there. But I need to warn you, this is very important. If you don't believe me, you're going to find out on your own, because I learned this years ago. You do not want to take any polish to this, not even the polish that doesn't have any abrasive. You'll be amazed at how quickly you can rub right through this plating. You'll start seeing the brown color. When I went to paint this lower panel down here with bright silver paint, notice I masked it off, and then I rubbed it down with lacquer thinner and a regular shop towel. And I was able, just with lacquer thinner and that blue shop towel, I was able to rub right through the plating. You can see right there, that brown color started to come through. So just a word to the wise here, be very careful when cleaning these reflectors. Once I had this masked off, I sprayed this with a bright silver paint. You know, you can get this at most hardware stores. There's a couple of different brands. I was using Valspar metallic paint. And you can look there and you can say, well, Kent, that's not like as shiny as a reflector. But watch this. When you put the glass on and you stand back, you're not going to notice that. You're not going to notice even the water spots on the reflector. So don't be too crazy about trying to be perfect. This glass hides a multitude of minor flaws. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my 303 protectant and put a coat on the plastic, and then I'm going to clean the seal, and we're going to put this glass back on. I'll come back and show you how nice this looks on the car. Well, what do you think? Was it worth all that work? Well, I'll let you be the judge. Here's the before, and here's the after. Pretty dramatic, huh? Well, you know, I'm not done yet. Now I have to tackle the turn signal lenses on old Fritz.